So welcome, Wretch.
Hey, what's popping?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, you know. I'm actually all right. A lot on my mind.
Yeah. How calm?
Just, you know, what it is that this, like, obviously finishing, album finished and getting ready to get into gear and on the promo run. I suppose if the mind works like a laptop, it's like I've got a lot of tabs open in my head. A lot of tabs.
Yeah. You got this little circle spinning.
Yeah, and I need
busy.
to, but the good thing is I like when I get to just click some off.
Yeah.
You got to click some off. Otherwise it's a lot.
So we was literally just talking like about 10 seconds before we press record.
About 10 minutes.
No, but specifically this one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Of you, we were talking about anxiety and feelings of anxious, and you said you've got a theory on the word anxious.
I think the word anxious breeds anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think there's some, like, I don't know, I have a few theories. I'm probably not always correct, but I just have a feeling that sometimes you can remove a word and it can remove a symptom. Sometimes I think the word creates a symptom. I'll give you an example. Like, I've got this thing about being late. And some people could say it's anxiety. But I say I just like to be on time.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I've passed it on to my daughter. So in the morning on the school run, she needs to be at school for 8:45 and she's watching the clock. I said, why do you keep looking at the clock? One day we was running a bit late and she was just like, because I feel like if I'm going to be late, it makes me feel like, and I was like, the word that I think she was looking for was anxious. But once I tell her she's anxious, then they tell her she has anxiety. She now has anxiety.
Yeah.
So I just said to her, I said, what do you feel? How does it feel? She said, I just feel like, I said, what, you just feel like you just want to be on time? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, being on time, that's the right thing to be. You should be on time. So if you are running late, you should want to be on time. But I feel like it's at that moment there, if I tell her she's anxious and she goes home and says, Mum, Dad said I was anxious earlier, then another 2 weeks, another feeling or a conversation is brought up, and then she now is telling everyone she suffers from anxiety.
Yeah.
Whereas I've now just told her that you just want to be on time. It gives her a different feeling about what she's feeling.
Yeah, it's a positive spin on it. And it's the other way around is more like
a condition.
Yeah, or like inception.
Yeah.
You've planted that little seed of like anxiety, anxiousness, and then it breeds, and it's like becomes a what's it called? A self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Where it's like you now, I'm anxious because of this.
Yeah.
And then I have anxiety because of that.
Because of that.
Whereas, and now I have anxiety about other things.
Yeah. Whereas if you remove the first seed, then the plant doesn't get to grow or to blossom. Yeah. That's just a theory of mine.
That's super interesting, man. Super interesting. And just because we kind of skipped a little bit, because I was just interested to hear that point and I didn't want to forget, can you just let the people know who are listening a bit about who you are and what you do?
Wretch 32. I'm a parent, father, a brother, son, a musician mainly, a rapper, songwriter, and a creative.
Nice.
Been writing songs for longer than I haven't been. Been just, been embedded in the scene for a long time. First release came out was like 2006. And then just kind of been going up the roller coaster since then. And I'm just trying to ensure that the roller coaster is always facing upwards and not down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, man. I think, like, for me personally, I'm going to have a little fanboy moment here, just get out of the way. But like, I've followed your journey as an artist since quite early, probably not as early as 2006, but pretty early. And I've seen kind of your growth within that, the way your music's developed, the way you've developed. Mm-hmm. We'll come to the dreads at some point. But also, like, just now being able to sit here and have a conversation, as I was saying to you before, like, I really appreciate your time being here, because I know you don't do a lot of sit down in-depth interviews.
Thanks for extending the invite, and however it worked out, it worked.
It was funny how it worked out. It was like the universe made it happen. It's really funny.
It was universal.
Yeah. So one thing I do want to touch on it is that, as I said, you've had your musical journey since 2006, which was your first release, up until now, which is like I mean, quick maths, nearly 15 years, right?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. That's right. So like, as well as your music and the journey of like the way your music has changed, like how have you changed and evolved behind that?
Do you know what it is? I feel like at this present moment in my life, I'm better at doing everything than I was when I was younger. I think I'm smarter. I think I'm faster. I'm physically stronger. I can rap better. Like if we was looking at 2006 Wretch in a segment, I'm just like so much more switched on, so much calmer as well. And I think the calmness has been the most important factor.
And what's brought that on?
I think just life and understanding that you have a choice and understanding that you don't have to react and act now. I think the 16, 17-year-old Wretch needed to react immediately to everything, whether it be if it was a diss tune or if it was an argument or breakup or whatever. The reaction needed to be immediate. And I think now I've understood that sometimes your immediate feelings on something can change when you step back and look at it from a different lens. So I think now just appreciating time and appreciating space, and I think it's just made me a better person.
Yeah. Have you got a specific moment you can think of where you've had to do that step back and kind of evaluate?
Every day. Every single day. Like every single day we're faced with something that can put us in another situation. Every single day there's a troll online, possibly, no, this is just an example, online saying, oh, you're crap, this, that. Like in an immediate second, you can respond. In a minute, you might look at it and think, in an hour, you won't even remember it. Do you get what I'm saying? So I just think as something as small as that is testament to my beliefs. And I just think every day there's an opportunity to react and step out of character.
Yeah. I think that's really important actually, because I think a lot of, particularly in this day and age, everyone is so reactive with like the fast pacedness of social media, of even music. Like, you know, some people are like releasing tunes every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And it's like, one thing I've noticed with you is, although you might go like in with like the feature verses and have like 10 in a year, like your personal projects will be far and few between. It's like your last album was out 3 years ago?
2 years.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
And it's like, you've just finished another one. So it's like, whereas other artists, it's like mixtape, album, you know, this, that, freestyle, that. And it's like a never ending cycle almost. And I feel like for you, you always seem like the kind of character who does have that, like say, calmness and sets back and evaluates and go, okay, cool, what do I want to make next? What do I want to put my energy into? And how do you like then go to make those decisions in terms of like, do I do a feature? Do I, you know, do the freestyle at this moment? Do I start working on an album?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like at this point in my career, I look at it from a different angle. So 10 years ago, I'd look at it and think about where I am now. Like, just had a different spin on it. But I think now I look at my career and I think about it from the end to the point I'm at now. And it helps me make the right decisions. And saying that, I say that to say this, that every body of work I put out, I want it to have some significance at the end, not just today. So it kind of makes me take my time, create the body of work, like create the theme, try and make sure everything fits in that theme as well. And in terms of feature verses, it's just like, I just have to really like the song, or always really like the song and always really believe in the individual. One thing I hate is that I've given verses to people who have quit making music.
Yeah.
That for me is like a waste, because that could have went to something else. And that's just how I feel about it. So I just want to make sure that you're here for the right reasons. We have the same beliefs and everything like that. That's how I decide who I work with.
Yeah, I think that's, again, it's true, man, because I've had like situations where, again, on probably a lot of a lesser scale, but I've done like podcast interviews. I can probably think of like 3 or 4 off the top of my head. I've spent the time, had the conversation, you know, sometimes even gone there, and then it doesn't even come out because they don't even put the rest of the podcast out.
Yeah,
Like, do you know what I mean? They don't
yeah.
even launch the podcast or whatever. And it's like, at the back of your mind, you're like, okay, that is a bit annoying.
It's a waste.
But it's a waste of that knowledge and that information. And for you, it's like a waste of whatever was, you know, the content of the verse or whatever it is.
Yeah. And it's not something that you needed to do.
Mm.
It wasn't in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It wasn't significant.
Yeah. So for you, like growing up in London, North London,
Yeah.
like how did the area that you grew up in influence the kind of music that you were originally making to how you're making today?
Everything, man. I think in every aspect, the way I dress is North London, the way I talk, my references, my knowledge, my life knowledge, my memories, everything is from there. And I just think I think where you grow up and what you're around and who you're around has a big part to play in who you become and how you view things. Like, and I find that some areas are very similar. Like me and Gets, we have the same opinion on a lot of things. But then me and Merkston might have a different opinion on things. And Gets and Merkston have a different opinion on things. But me and Gets' one is similar, and it makes me think that some estates or some areas are very, very similar, even though they're in a different place.
Yeah, I get that, because it's like it's a sense of community, isn't it? And I guess it's the kind of the energy and the vibe within that community will then mold that person,
the individual.
Exactly. So if there's, like saying you and Gets, if you had similar kind of vibes within the places you were growing up, that will channel through to now.
1,000%.
Yeah,
effectively, it's like he could have been my neighbor. It's like he lived upstairs, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So what was the things that you learnt then, like back then, that you've brought forward into your life now?
I think just learning how to carry yourself. And I think for me, like, always being a kid that, I don't know if like the word's popular, but it's like just a brief bit of backstory. Like my nan and my dad and my uncle, they were very like popular Tottenham characters.
Yeah.
And very much involved in the riots and justice and sorting things out, and you know what I mean, with all of that type of stuff. So it always made them very popular in the area. And obviously being a son and a grandson and a nephew of them, that made me a popular kid. Like little things like my christening was on TV.
Really?
Yeah, I was been on TV as a child, and that was kind of like, oh, so on TV, like from a very young age. And I think I don't know, and then just moving forward in life, like just being quite loud and quite popular and whatnot, becoming popular, it kind of prepared me for this chapter of my life where I'm walking down the street and somebody knows me and I don't know who they are. So I think more than anything, I take my upbringing and I relate it to this, and that's why what you get sometimes is you get a child or a person or an individual that was always quiet growing up, small circle of friends, school, home, like quite a very, quiet, normal regular life. And then they become successful at something, whether it's making music, whether it's YouTuber, whatever.
Yeah.
And then now they're famous.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I go from being in a class of 30 and only speaking to 4 people, and in a school of 1,000, only 30 people knowing my name, to being in a population of 7 billion and I get 50 million views?
Yeah.
It's a hard shift to deal with.
Yeah. So how do you deal with it?
I think I was prepared for it. I think that's the difference. I think just understanding that sometimes you're in a room where people know who you are and you don't know who they are, from 12 years old or from 15 years old or 16 years old. I think it set me up for this segment of my life now. Yeah.
Because one thing that I've always been interested in with, like, people like yourself, like you said, you'll walk down the street and someone will come up to you and be like, yo, Wretch, like, or you be on the tube and, probably people will be recognizing you left, right and center. It's like, how do how do you keep yourself grounded within and like almost stay connected to like what's happening in the world without kind of putting yourself into a bubble and being like, I can't put myself in those situations. Like I need to kind of protect myself.
You just have to be you. You have to be you at all times. But if I'm honest, like at times I would probably say that I could possibly be a victim of my own success. Or popularity, because there are sometimes something's going on somewhere. Like I'm very door to door. Like I eliminate, like if I'm coming here today, I'm in the car and the car takes me to the door.
Yeah.
Then when I leave here, I get in the car that takes me to my door.
Yeah.
I eliminate me maybe getting off at the train station and having a 10-minute walk. Just eliminates opportunity for things that are out of my control.
Yeah.
And it's not that I like to be in control. It's just I like to just get to where I was heading to go and just go there and go back home just like everyone else. So I'm not really someone that enjoys what the job comes with. I enjoy the job because it's my life, but it comes with some other things that just makes you kind of navigate a different way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I see what you mean. It's like not putting yourself in this situation because so many unknowns come within that.
Exactly that. And it's hard to explain to people because people are just like, yeah, but why don't you just
get on the tube, like put a hat on.
Yeah, like why don't you just do it? And it's not like nothing, no one's going to kill me or nothing, but it's just like sometimes I've got half an hour to get somewhere and I need to be there in half an hour and the journey takes 28 minutes. So I've got 2 minutes for error. And error might be a 4-minute conversation with an up-and-coming artist, conversation with this picture, Not that it's a problem, but if I've got half an hour and I will not be late to anything. So if I've got half an hour, it's like just being mindful of where I've got to be and how I've got to get there kind of thing.
So then when are the times and the situations where you are more open to like the unknown and just like if you don't necessarily have to be someone in a time frame, it's like you don't mind.
Yeah, that's just loose. Like I go Tesco, I give myself time to go Tesco. That's me clearing my mind, walking around. We can have a conversation. I've had 20-minute conversations in Tesco, half an hour. Like you can get me there. Events like where I've purposely come out of my house to be around whatever's going on. So yeah, we can, you know what I mean? We can have it, or journeys, we're on a plane, we're going the same, like we're just moving, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just moving.
Yeah, nice. And what other things do you do then other than go to Tesco to like clear your head? Like when you sat down here and I was like, oh, what have you been up to today? You were like, oh, just trying to get my head straight because there's like 100 things happening at once. My essentials, gym. I go gym 7 a.m, 4 times a week, train from 7 to 8, then take my daughter to school run. The gym and the school run is my sanity. And football Monday and Thursday for 1 hour. That are my essentials. And Tesco. And Tesco. If I don't have that, I feel like something's removed. Like, just like, just what you need on a basic. Some people might say, I need EastEnders. Like, I need EastEnders. I need to rave on Saturday. I need a pint on Friday. That might just be your essentials. My essentials, gym, school run, Tesco, football. Yeah. I think it's important as well to have those like non-negotiables, whether, you're doing stuff that you're doing or whether you are like working a 9 to 5 or whatever, like to have those non-negotiables in every week where you're like, so like mine are gym in the morning. Yeah. If I'm not, so I go gym.
What time do you go?
6:45, 7.
Yeah. Where do you do, an hour?
Yeah, 10 to, and then I do like 15-minute stretching. The stretching's just as much as a non-negotiable as the workout. Okay. I have to do the stretching after. The days I don't go gym, I stretch in the morning. Yeah. And then the other ones are like meditation every day.
How do you find that?
Love it.
Yeah?
Big advocate.
Do you have a set time or what do you do? You just...
What, in terms of length?
No, as in like...
Or when I do it?
Yeah, when you do it.
So I really like to do it in the morning. So like my ideal is when I get home from the gym because my head's pretty clear after the gym. Yeah. Get home from the gym, shower, breakfast, and then before I do anything else, meditate. But at the minute, I haven't quite fully got back into that sync of that routine. So I'm doing it in the evenings before I go to bed just to like decompress from the day and just spend that 10 minutes of like...
Would you put something on like that atmospheric sounds or...
No, you can do, but I use Headspace, the app. So it's basically like they've got all different like what's the word, like topics that it does. So there's like one for stress, one for sports, one for anxiety, and they're pretty much all the same in terms of the actual exercise. Yeah.
They got you.
They got me. No, they're
God.
pretty much all the same in terms of the exercises.
Yeah.
But what he talks about beforehand, because it's guided, so he'll talk about. So if it's like sports related, he'll be like, think about, you know, the next time you want to do X, Y, and Z, and then you go into the exercise. So that's already in your mind. I just find that like the guided meditation is really helpful.
Yeah,
but I've done it so much now. I can sit down for 10 minutes and just do it unguided
without
and just insight, like pure silence.
That's something my mind's been on, you know, like meditation and possibly yoga. But I need to understand why I want to do it. I know my mind's interested.
What interests you about it?
I think it just sounds calming and relaxing, but I'm not erratic and out of place. I know that I have a lot in my mind and a lot going on, but it's rare that I feel that it's on top. Like I always feel like I can handle it.
Yeah.
And I have a very cool and calm approach. So I don't know. But then when I tell people that I cannot get to sleep for nothing, I wake up at 6:15 every day, or 6 between 5:45 and 6:15.
Yeah.
And I cannot get to sleep before 1 a.m. That's like as a standard. Sometimes I get 3 a.m., 3:30, 4 a.m. and I cannot switch off. And then people are like, you know, you should try meditation, try yoga. But I feel like it's probably something in me that's like, if I start doing things that make me switch off, do I lose? Like, do I lose some of the tabs that I have open?
Yeah.
That's always my thought
See,
process.
I always find, so I've heard that before from people. So do you know Gary Vee?
Like, yeah.
So he always talks about meditation like that. He's like, why do I want to meditate? Like, I'm already, you know, working at 100. Like, I don't need to like decompress anything. I want to be on it, all that kind of thing. But what I found very beneficial for it is, it's more like you gain clarity. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I lose anything. I feel like I gain more than anything else. So I gain like the clarity, and I even gain like just the understanding of my own thought process. You see what I mean? Because you've just got 10 minutes where, and a common misconception with meditation is that you sit there in silence, which is what you're doing, but there's always thoughts. So with meditation is you're kind of navigating the thoughts. So like you recognize you've had a thought, you might follow that thought for 30, 40 seconds, but then the second you recognize that you've done that, you bring yourself back to the breath. And then eventually another thought's going to come into view, and you might follow that one for a little bit. And then when you recognize that, you bring yourself back to the breath, and you just navigate your way through your thinking rather than trying to clear your head.
Okay. So is it possible that I'm meditating when I'm in Tesco?
Possibly, but it could be a form of, yeah. I mean, yoga is definitely like, obviously there's lots of body movement involved, but it's definitely a form of a meditative experience, because you're kind of so focused in being in the present in what your body's doing and you're breathing, that everything else kind of goes out the window. Yeah,
because I'm very centered, and I find it like just mad relaxing, and I feel like it's just so essential. And I don't know why. But literally, if I've got a trolley and I'm walking around Tesco, I could do that for 4 hours. And it's just me in the shop, literally, and I just take my time and I never go there in a rush. Never. Like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. No, you probably get like a similar, like reaction within your brain to what people get through meditation. It's probably the same chemicals are kind of made active,
Possibly, yeah.
So tell me about your gym routine. What's your kind of like...
Gym? Well, I'm not going to get bigger. Basically, long story short, I had a car crash many years ago. No one knows this, but yeah, I had a car crash many years ago. I was in the back of the car. Came out absolutely fine, by the way. The car was written off from the back. Then fast forward like 10 years, I used to wake up and I could not move my arm.
Really?
Like, I'd be in excruciating pain, and it felt like something was clipping on something that was so tender in my arm. it was just excruciating. Long story short, went to a chiropractor. I'm like, what's happening? He's like, your posture's all wrong. Like, you're very slouchy for your age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. He's like,
I'm not going to lie, the way you're sitting's not going to help. Right
yeah,
now
it's not going to help, innit? He's like, have you ever had a back injury? And I'm like, nah, not to my knowledge, no. So he's like, you sure? I'm like, I've never been injured. I've kind of been Wolverine. And if I do, I'm always, you know what I mean, self-healing quickly or whatever. But long story short, he's like, anything that hit your back hard or any hard impact. I'm like, well, there was a car crash one time, but I was cool. It was like, nah, you wasn't. Wow. Basically, that messed up my posture. My posture then started doing something to some nerve in my shoulder, which I now have to reverse. So he's like, you're going to be all right now because it will happen now and again. But I promise you, when you get to 50 or 60, your arm is going to kill you. So what you need to do, you need to strengthen the muscles. That's what started me going gym. So it's not really, I don't go to get hench.
Yeah.
I just do a lot of cardio and a lot of cool stuff like ropes, pulling and pushing, pull-ups, push-ups, bit of weights, and yeah.
They're just getting your body active and
yeah.
like strengthening but not bulking.
Yeah, but not bulking.
Yeah, I'm similar. Like I always... So like I got a lot of friends who are proper like gym guys, you know, and they're like proper bulky.
Yeah.
They can like bench 100 plus kilos or whatever, and I'm just there with my little weights. Like, yeah, this is cool because I just enjoy the process of it, but also like just having that movement in your body is so it's so beneficial. Like it's underrated massively.
It's important, man. I didn't realize the importance. Like my manager Zion, always been training, always like going for a jog.
He's got
like,
big recently.
Yeah, and I'm like, this guy's a madman. Like, why is he waking up so early to go training? And when I started doing it, I was like, I get it, man. Like my body feels, I can't even explain it, but my body just feels better. Like I'm like so much better. Like I'm fitter than I've ever been. Like, yeah, it's just weird.
So how do you keep up all of that then? So like your non-negotiables, for example, when you're touring or you're on the road or you've got like busy kind of festival period, like how do you fit that stuff in?
So that's the thing. Like, gym, or I can go for a run on a tour. Hotels will have a gym. You can work that out. Tesco, there's absolutely no reason to go Tesco on a tour. School run is
and like, if you do want to go Tesco, they're in most places.
Yeah, they're in most places, and the school run just can't happen. And it doesn't kill me. I'm all right.
Yeah.
But definitely when I'm home, this is what I need. Yeah.
Yeah. And how's your mindset then different when you are touring to when you're at home? Because it's more like it's a different routine and it's a different side to your life because you're performing every night or every other night and you're, you know, giving a lot on stage and the rest of it. So where's the kind of differentiation? Is there even a word? Differentiation in normal day life to like touring life?
I love it, but I want to come back. Like, I like to be home. I like to come home. In my head, when you have a job, you go to work and you go home, and that's part of what it is. So for me, it's always, I love my job. I would not change it for the world. But when I finished, I like to go home. Yeah. Even with like bookings abroad, if I can get back the same day, I'm coming back that day. Or at worst case scenario, the day after, I'm coming back home. Yeah. People think I'm mad. Like, you just went to, I done a booking in Cyprus like a couple of weeks ago, left, done the show and came back the same day. I was like, why wouldn't you stay out there and enjoy it? I'm like, I want to be home. I enjoy home and I want to take my daughter to school. Yeah. Like, that's what I need. Yeah.
Because they're the moments, I suppose, like taking your daughter to school that you're not going to be able to replicate doing anything else.
Nothing else is going to give you that.
Yeah, that's it. And what about that moment when you're kind of, you're at a show, at a festival, whatever, and you're about to go on stage. Like, how do you get yourself into that mindset of like stepping out in front of thousands of people and giving everything up there?
Worst habit ever, alcohol.
Really?
Yeah. Worst habit. That's the worst thing that's been introduced to my life because of this, and now it's become a part of it. So it's like I associate a show with a drink, studio session with a drink. It's like a next version of me. Yeah. I
think there's a term for it where it's like you get yourself into the state, like the exact state that you were in every time you do that thing. So like you have a few drinks to get merry or tipsy or whatever, so that you're in that state that you know, okay, this is the mind I'm in. I'm gonna go and do this thing. I can't remember what the term is.
Yeah, they probably and it makes sense, and
So
that's
it's
what
just-
happens. It's a creature of habits as well. We
Yeah.
are, they say, but yeah, worst habit. But that's how I think when I do a show, stone sober. It's like it's almost like, how can I explain it? It's like I'm going through a script,
Yeah.
and it's just I'm very conscious, and I'm not in the moment. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have a little thing, you loosen up, you're in the moment, you spot things, you change things. Whereas when I'm full, clear-headed, it's like I would do exactly the same thing every
Yeah.
time, yeah.
It's like a state of flow rather than going into it and like being too rigid.
Yeah,
You're in a flow state where you can just adapt to what's happening.
you can
around
change. Yeah, you can change, and it helps, man.
And what about coming off stage then? What's the kind of feelings that you have running through you when you step off stage?
Never satisfied.
No? How come?
Could always be better. Could always be better in my eyes, like always, all the time. Like all the time. I'll be like, yeah, but in my head I'm like, at that moment, maybe you could always be better, always.
Yeah. So you're kind of like in a state of like, you've got the adrenaline still running, but you're already in an analytical state where you're like, oh, do this, do that, or next time this.
Next time try that, or mess up a bit there, or da-da-da-da-da. Like always a way to improve, always.
Where do you think that feeling comes from? Like, why do you feel like you get like that after a performance?
I think just wanting to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing. And it's like understanding that you have to analyze and criticize yourself. Like probably no bigger critic of me than me. Like even before a lyric comes out of my head and said out of my mouth, I thought it over so many times.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a guide. So yeah.
So with lyrics, do you write them down, or do you
No.
just everything's up here?
Walk around the room, play the music loud, walk around the room, probably do about 300 laps of whatever room I'm in. And I'm like, yeah, we got the first verse, record it, and just keep going like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so, again, before we were recording, you mentioned you got a book
Yeah.
that's on the way. What's the book about?
Basically, like, a lot of people, there's a few different factors that made me come up with this idea. First one, people always seem to be intrigued of how my mind works when creating lyrics. And I'm like, it's not as straightforward as me just giving you one sentence. So I've always had in the back of my mind that maybe I should do some sort of journal or something to give people a better insight. That was the first thing. The next thing was when I started going into schools to give English lessons, and they kind of they'd pick a song or they'd pick a lyric or a verse and write it out and have it in lesson format, and we'd do a lesson on my lyrics.
Oh, really? That's sick.
And it was like, the teachers were kind of like, I've never seen them disengaged. So I was like, there's probably an opportunity here to have some sort of book that can go in schools. And then I remember when I was at school studying from a book called The Anthology in English, which is just a collection of poems. And I thought, it's great, it was cool, some cool poems that I liked, but I could have been a bit more engaged. And also, they didn't have explanations. It was just the poem alone.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what if I'd done a rapthology,
Yeah.
which is a collection of rap verses, but it's slightly autobiographical, so you get an explanation. Why could this not be taught in schools and possibly a part of the curriculum?
Yeah.
So effectively, it's not a book for school. It's a book to help you understand how the creative mind works, creative writing, and to read through lyrics and get breakdowns and whatnot, like Rap Genius would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it can also be used in a school as well. And I just thought that'd be cool.
Yeah. It sounds similar in a way, not obviously entirely, but
Decoded.
Decoded,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
was trying to think of the name of the book.
Yeah. It's very similar to that.
Jay-Z book, yeah.
Similar to that, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what's your creative process then? Like in a nut, and obviously you don't want to like just build a whole book, but like what's in a nutshell?
I think there's so much layers to it, but just on a general, it's head into the studio with an open mind and conversing with as much people as you can on the day, hopefully in the session as well, and listening to the music, because for me the music is always what I have to reply to. Some song will start lyric first, but 90% of my music will come from me hearing a chord or a drum pattern, and then it enables me to, what does this song say? And then I can navigate back through how it makes me feel. A song might make me feel sad, and I'm like, what type of sadness is it? It's death sadness. Okay, who's died recently that I've been affected by? Who's died in the past that has affected me like that? And it's just a process what I also call like storing emotions. Like,
Yeah.
I can always remember how something made me feel. And I think the best songwriters use that same process, because when the music tells you to dig deep into an emotion and you've got them all stored, you can now go back in time and there's your song, or there's the texture of what the song needs. And it's just, obviously it's a lot longer, more complex to explain, but trying to put it in a nutshell, that would be the shell around the nut.
No, I like that. The again, it comes back to being in a state, doesn't it? Of like getting yourself into a mindset of sadness or joy or whatever it is, just to get into that zone so that you can express it through the lyrics and through the song and connect back to it that way, which is quite impressive.
It's just, and when something's just become what you do, so it's just quite normal. But there's a lot of things that I didn't realize I do, and then trying to like put words on it, trying to understand it, and I'm like, I actually really hold feelings. Like, I remember how I felt, I remember what triggered me, so it makes writing songs so easy.
Yeah.
Like, so easy, as long as I can relate the chords or the texture of the music to a certain emotion. I can dig back. Like, I can talk about, if the song makes me talk about, I don't know, like the song makes me feel, or puts me in a state where it's like a happy part of a relationship, I can scan through all my happiest moments in relationships and you just word it like it's one relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm taking, I liked her because she cooked, I liked her because we got on, but I make it feel like one person and just kind of put it together. But I wouldn't be able to do that without storing the emotions and the memories.
Yeah. So why do you think then that you kind of got this superpower in a way, like this ability to, like, is it something that kind of has always been there through your life, or is it something that you've almost decidedly tapped into because of what you do?
I think I'm an emotional person, man. And I think I still think back to things that have happened in primary school, and I'm a feelings hoarder. Like, if my mind was a closet, you'd open it up and you'd be like, whoa, you see heartbreak, you'd see this, you'd see, like, I just hold on to things, and then I've just managed to use it for good, rather than, because I suppose what happens, people store all these feelings and then it sends them to a state of depression or different things kick in after that. But I think I've managed to use it for better rather than worse. Yeah.
You almost like process them, feel them, let them kind of pass, understand them. And it's a good process to go through, because like you said, a lot of people will hold on to stuff, and that will cause, it will build and it will grow and it will turn into something else. Or it's like going back to your arm. It's like you store that.
Yeah.
And then eventually it builds up and it gets to a point where it's unbearable. And it's the same thing that we do with emotions. It's like, and I've been so guilty of that in the past, like holding on to stuff and not expressing it. And then you get to a point where you're like, it almost like cripples you.
Yeah. So did you feel like doing the podcast was a good form of release.
Yeah, in a way, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like I like to have these types of conversations, and it's
Yeah.
like you can't go to the pub with your mates and have a conversation like this. Do you know what I
It's too
mean?
loud as well in there.
It's too loud for a start. But do you know what I mean? It's like there's only certain situations where you can have these types of longer form, in-depth conversations to try and understand someone. And it's like generally when you're out with your mates, or even if you go for dinner, sometimes it's not really like the occasion. And it's like this has kind of been a release of that side of my mind, I guess.
Yeah.
Like in these, sit down hour, a bit more than that or whatever, and have a conversation.
Because you got the mind and the body and the heart, like, it's stronger than we think. And I think it always, it sounded so weird, than we think, and I think. But, and it always gives you what you need. Similar to a plant. Like if a plant needs light and there's light coming from a certain direction, it tries to grow towards that. So my arm being affected and needing padding forced me to walk how I was walking, because that was padding it. And I think in terms of you saying, also storing emotions and stuff, I think maybe sometimes we don't even realize why we navigate into certain directions. And sometimes it's that. Do you go therapy?
No. So the backstory in a nutshell, because I've spoken about it a few times on here, but for you, like, I went through a big period of my life where I would hold on to like everything, unable to express sadness, unable to express like hurt, unable to express sometimes extreme joy. And I went through this period of just like this big grey dark cloud just over me all the time, until it got to a point where again with your arm, it gets to a point where it's unbearable and you can't hold on to it anymore. And I was with an ex-girlfriend this like 6-7 years ago. We were in her room, we were having an argument, and she just turned around to me. She was like, "Why aren't you saying anything?" And that caused me to just release. That just one question just caused me to release, and I just burst into tears. And I was just like, I couldn't even say anything. All I could say was, "I don't feel like me. I don't feel like me." And it was just like a release of like everything that I've been holding on to for all that time, of like unhappiness, of not knowing who I was, of like not being sure about what I was doing with my life. Just all this stuff that I've been holding on to, just this big release. And that's like what set me on this path of like developing myself, like, reading more self-help stuff, being more introspective, being more trying to understand my emotions, trying to be more in touch with everything. And off of the back of that conversation with my ex, I then went to a couple of therapy sessions. And I just didn't vibe with the therapist. There was just either I was holding something back, or it wasn't the right person or the right time. There was just something that didn't feel right. So I called it after like 5 sessions. I was like, look, I just said to her, look, I feel like I've come quite far. Just in fact, I've been here, but I just don't feel like this is right for me right now. And I haven't gone back to it. I will do it at some point, but I'll know when the time's right.
When the time's right.
Have you ever?
Nah, it's something that I think about often, though.
Yeah.
It's something that I think about often, because I understand that like so much is going on in life and so much is going on in one's mind. It's a lot, man. And everything needs to offload, man. Like everything needs to offload. And I think consciously knowing that I bottle things up and use them for what I think is just my benefit, there's probably another side to that bottle.
Yeah.
That if it ever gets a hole in it and starts leaking, you know what I mean? Who knows what can become of that. But I think, as I say, like I just trust in the fact that my mind and my heart knows what to do. So I feel like some things that I feel I just need to do, and it has a bigger purpose than just what it seems like.
Yeah.
Like, for argument's sake, like the book, in hindsight, it's a cool idea, but I think there's something more to it for me.
Yeah. Well, what would that be?
I can't always put my finger on it.
Yeah.
But I just understand that when I'm doing something, sometimes I'm like, this is more than just writing a book.
Yeah.
Like even doing it, how I worked on it, what was coming out of me, I was like, this is bigger than words on the page. And it might not be for everyone else, But while I was working on it, I was like, you needed to do this. Like, I needed that.
Yeah.
And some things I just need, like some projects, maybe I just needed to do that. And that's just for me. Maybe it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but in the bigger scheme of things of what I needed at the time, I needed to do that.
Yeah.
And I think I just trust that my mind and my body knows when it's time to do these things. Because I feel like it's important to, like, as a creative, it's important to get your ideas out how they need to be got out sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it is probably quite a therapeutic process of like going through stuff and working out and doing it because it's feeding you. And it's, you know, you might, like I said, you might be putting it together in a book, but there's something beyond that is giving you back rather than you just giving the information for people, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that cycle of like doing stuff for the purpose behind it or whatever it is just like just magical stuff, man.
Yeah, and you never know what you're gonna get, but you need to, and also as well, like, I understand that I need to push myself. Like, I think in life at this present moment in time, I'm just going to the gym and I'm benching 10s.
Yeah.
When I'm capable of probably benching 40.
Yeah.
But I'm very comfortable doing 10s. So now it's like, okay, you think you're slick. Let's see what other areas you can move in and become Wretch 3-2 in book world. Let's see if you can become Wretch 3-2 in writing theatre plays and productions and stuff like that. So I think it's just a lot of challenges I wanna set myself as well.
Yeah, sick. And how are these lessons that you will, I guess, try to pass on to your kids for them to take on board as well?
I think the main thing I try and give my kids is, and it sounds like mad cliche, but nothing's impossible. If you decide. And I try and explain to them and try and make them understand the importance of decision making, because that's what's gonna guide them through life. I can give them £1 million. Well, I physically can't, but I'm saying you can give your child £1 billion.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean that the choices they make with that money will be the right choices. You can maybe afford to send your child to private school. They still have to decide to learn.
Yeah.
And to pass. The choice is always on the individual. So I explain to them the power of their choice. Like, it's an option. You have a choice. Like, you can finish your homework and leave it at that. But you have a choice to study a bit more. It's your choice. It's up to you. And I try and explain that to them daily, you know, to just get that into their mind. And I'm like, I'm not me because I rolled out of bed and fell into this body. Like, I made the choice and I decided that when everyone was raving or when everyone was going here and there, I was going to go studio. That was my choice.
Yeah. And how do they respond to that?
Well, I can't give it to them like that because of their age.
Yeah.
But I give it to them in smaller proportions, and I just see how they react to it. Like, my daughter reacts to it really well.
Yeah.
My son is different because he's a teenager, and right now teenagers want to play computer.
I was going to say, probably playing FIFA.
Yeah, and they want to play Fortnite, they want to play GTA, they want to focus their energy on that. But even speaking to him about that, I'm like, you have a choice. That's your choice to play that game. But you making that choice means you're losing out in other areas where you could be doing other things. It's just, it's about them understanding the power of the choice, man.
Yeah, it's really true. I think like choice is everything. It's like at the end of the day, you put your energy where you want to put it, and you put your attention where you want to put it, and you get out of that what you're putting into it.
What you're putting in, yeah.
100%. Is there anything you've taken from your parents that you're kind of almost passing into your kids?
Discipline. Like, my mum was militant. It was like the army. Like, nobody steps out of line to a senior. And I think it's important that kids are disciplined and they understand that there's boundaries that you can push with adults. So I never see my children being rude to any adult. I never see them standing out of line I get great feedback. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I think more than anything, the discipline from my parents. Yeah.
That's it. I think that's, again, it's important because there's such a battle, and it's an interesting one, and you probably know, as well as anyone, it's like the battle between creativity and discipline, because people think that they're opposites. Like, you can't be creative if you're being disciplined, and you can't be disciplined if you're being creative.
Yeah.
But within creativity, you need to have the discipline to channel it, and vice versa. So I think like teaching that helps harness those creative moments and helps harness other things that come with it.
Yeah. Because obviously in hindsight, like, if I decide I want to write a song, that's a creative. But then you have to be disciplined enough to finish the tune. Do you get what I mean? So therefore, for me, that's therefore come hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be a creative with no discipline. You just coming out of ideas and not doing nothing. Like,
yeah. And with your album that's now finished, which is coming soon, what are the kind of messages that you want people to take from that album?
For me, it's a reflective project. So it's called Upon Reflection, and
Is reflection spelled with a W?
Nah.
Missed the trick.
I missed the trick there, innit? Still time to be there, generally is, but yeah, I think it's the confidence to look back but still move forward at the same time. And it probably sounds weird, but it's like sometimes you're looking back and we're dwelling on looking back and we're not moving forward. But for me, the approach should be to look back. Okay, cool, that's happened. That went like that. But today, I'm going this way, and things are going to go like this.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's like one of the main little touches, just to understand where you are and where you're going, but also where you came from.
Yeah. And is there a thing within that, and not necessarily in the album, but just in your life in general, in like also focusing on where you are, like in terms of like the present?
It's a good question. It's weird because I think more about tomorrow than I do about today. So all my plans are for tomorrow. And I think, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, my plans are all for tomorrow.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I feel that the future's more important than the present then. And I think it's all about what I'm trying to build, what I'm about to do next, and how is each step I take going to help me get to the top of the stairs. But there is no top of the stairs as well. Like, I never feel like there's a point where once you do that, you've made it. I always feel like you're consistently making it. As if it's about legacy, then it's also about people around you and people behind you. So your legacy continues in what everybody else does as well.
Yeah.
So how can I now keep running up these stairs, but also see someone 100 stairs behind and maybe throw them in front of me so they're 100 steps ahead, and everyone around can be on the same step or roughly in the same proximity. So it's like my mind's always forward.
Yeah.
Like, this album should leave me here. Then I'm going to put out that project, which should leave me here. Then the book will come, which would leave me here. Then after the book, you go into theatre, which will leave me here.
Yeah.
Then after that, you work on the next album, which should leave you here. Then by that point, you should be able to do more books, which should leave you here, which should possibly put you in a realm where you can now open up your own academy, which should leave you here. Like, it's never, there is never an end to the steps. So probably that's why tomorrow is more important than today for me.
Yeah. And do you not feel then within that, like, you're just like almost mapping stuff out?
Yeah.
Like, there is such room for possibility though. Like you could get to that stage where the theatre stage, for example, and something else just might come off the back of it that you haven't accounted for.
Yeah. Yeah, but them things are always, well, we hope they're always good things. So it's like, it might not be theatre, it might become a film.
Yeah.
Then now you've done a film that you can take to the theatre. Like it should always be...
Or TV or...
Yeah, do you get what I mean? It should always be around. But I think the first thing is just mapping it out. Like you have to map it out and you have to accept that you're the architect and not everyone's going to understand the house until it's built.
Yeah.
Maybe I build it from the top down. I don't know. Maybe I'm building from the bottom up. Maybe I've started laying bricks. Then I've started doing windows, which doesn't look right at the time, but I understand how the house is going to be formed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick. Well, look, conscious of time, so I've got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
So first one, podcast is called Dreamer's Disease.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be your definition of the Dreamer's Disease?
I'd say the dreamer's disease, to me, the definition of that would be a dream so big that you don't get to sleep. That's the dreamer's disease for me. Because you're so focused on achieving the dream that there's no rest. I actually say that in a tune, something like that. Here's something to believe in. No sleep because you're living what you're dreaming.
Yeah.
Like it's a lesson in itself that my son could call me dad when I missed the parents' evening. Like you're just on the constant goal. That's the dreamer's disease for me.
Yeah, that's nice. And then finally, what is your definition of happiness?
Definition of happiness. Family and stability. Yeah, family and stability. That's the most high. That's the ultimate. You got a healthy family, health, and you're stable and in control of your choices. Because sometimes when I say stability, I'm like, I want to be able to choose that maybe this time we're having a year off. Do you know what I mean? And I want the luxury of choice. Not the luxury of luxuries. I want the luxury of choice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I think the family and the stability and all of that ties right back into what you're saying about the moment of, like, you know, taking your daughter to school being a non-negotiable. It's like putting yourself in those moments where, although you can replicate it every day, you can only replicate that moment like when you're in
the moment. And I also think that is a luxury.
Yeah.
Because I'm fortunate enough to start work later than 8 a.m. Whereas without the luxury of the choice, I might have to start at 8 a.m. and then I'm not able to do that. So for me, it's just... it's just like literally not the luxury of luxuries, a luxury of choice. Yeah,
that's nice. It's nicely worded. Would expect nothing less, to be honest.
I can string a few words together, mate. That again.
Well, look, man, I appreciate it. But before we sign out, can you let people know where they can find you online and keep up to date with what you're doing? I'm
on Twitter. I don't even know if that's still a thing, but it's still a thing in my world. That's at Wretch32 on Instagram. It's official Wretch32, and just on the socials. I've got a Facebook somewhere as well, but probably better to get me on the Instagram. And I'm here. I should be present, man. I should be present. I should be able to be easy to find.
Nice, good. And as I said at the beginning, man, I massively appreciate the time. I know you don't do a lot of these, so I'm really thankful that we got that time to do it. So, and good luck with everything, man. I'm sure it's all going to be amazing.
Wicked, man. Enough love.
Wicked. Cheers, man.
Bless.